The SOS wasn't ignored. Deathworlders sent a fleet to the aliens. Part 1 Captain Zephyra pressed her forehands against the cold metal of the control panel. The ship shook again and sparks flew from the damaged screens around her. The lights flickered on and off like dying stars. Her crew moved quickly through the narrow halls of their research ship, trying to fix what could still be fixed. The ship was called Harmony's Light. It was beautiful once, made of special crystal that caught starlight and made it dance. Now the crystal was cracked. Air was leaking out into the empty space around them. The ship was dying and they were dying with it. Zephyra looked at the big screen that showed the space outside. 3 black ships moved around them like hungry animals. The ships were ugly and sharp, covered in spikes and weapons. They belonged to the Vorthak, and everyone in the galaxy was afraid of them. The Vorthak were not like other aliens. Most species in the galaxy were peaceful. They studied stars, traded goods, and shared knowledge. The Vorthak only wanted to hurt others. They captured peaceful aliens and made them slaves. Sometimes they ate them. Harmony's Light had been coming home from a good mission. Zephyra and her team had found a new species on a distant planet. The new aliens were gentle creatures who ate only plants and loved to sing. They were happy to meet other beings from the stars. It was exactly the kind of discovery that made Zephyra love her job. But the Vorthak had found them on the way home. The black ships appeared from nowhere and started shooting. Harmony's Light was not a warship. It had only basic shields and no weapons. The Vorthak weapons tore through their defenses like paper. "Captain," called her communications officer, Veltar. His voice was shaking. "The hull is breaking apart. We have maybe 1 hour before the ship falls apart completely." Zephyra closed her eyes. She had 43 crew members on this ship. They were scientists, doctors, and diplomats. They had families waiting for them at home. She had promised to bring them back safely. "Can we send a message to the Federation?" she asked. Veltar shook his head. "The Vorthak are blocking all our signals. They want to make sure no one knows what happened to us." The ship shook again, harder this time. Through the broken windows, Zephyra could see the Vorthak ships getting closer. They were waiting for Harmony's Light to break apart completely. Then they would collect the survivors. Dr. Kessera, the chief scientist, floated over to Zephyra. Her people did not have legs like Zephyra's species. Instead, they moved through the air using special organs in their bodies. "Captain, what about that signal we detected last month?" Zephyra looked confused. "What signal?" "Remember? We picked up a strange transmission from the outer rim. It came from a system that was supposed to be empty. The signal said something about a species called humans." "I remember now," said Veltar. "The signal said they lived on a planet called Earth, but the computer said that planet was impossible." Dr. Kessera nodded. "According to our data, Earth is what we call a Class 12 death world. The gravity is too strong. The radiation from their sun is deadly. The planet has storms that could destroy cities. No intelligent life should be able to survive there. That is why the Council ignored the signal," said Zephyra. "They thought it was fake or maybe from primitives who would die soon anyway." The ship shook again and more lights went out. They could hear the metal walls starting to bend and crack. Time was running out. "Captain," said Dr. Kessera quietly, "what if the signal was real? What if there really are people living on that impossible planet?" Zephyra thought about this. If a species could survive on a Class 12 death world, they would have to be incredibly strong. Maybe strong enough to fight the Vorthak. "It is probably useless," she said. "Even if they exist, even if they get our message, why would they help us? They do not know us. We have nothing to offer them." "Because," said Dr. Kessera, "in the signal they sent, they kept using one word over and over. Help. They said they wanted to help other species in the galaxy." Another explosion rocked the ship. Sparks fell from the ceiling like burning rain. In the distance, Zephyra could see one of the Vorthak ships opening its docking bay. They were getting ready to board. "Do it," said Zephyra suddenly. "Send the message to Earth." Veltar looked surprised. "What should I say?" "The truth," said Zephyra. "Tell them who we are. Tell them we are in trouble. Tell them we need help." Veltar worked quickly at his broken console. His hands moved fast over the controls as he set up the transmission. "The signal will take time to reach them," he said. "Even if they get it right away, even if they send help immediately, it will be too late for us." "I know," said Zephyra. "But maybe it will help someone else." The message was simple. Zephyra spoke into the microphone while alarms rang around her. This is Captain Zephyra of the Kalari Federation research vessel Harmony's Light. We are under attack by hostile forces called the Vorthak. Our ship is destroyed. Our crew will be captured or killed. To any civilized species receiving this message, please be warned. The Vorthak are dangerous. They enslave peaceful beings and show no mercy. She paused as another explosion shook the ship. If anyone out there can hear this, we need help. We do not expect rescue. But if you can stop the Vorthak from hurting others, please try. This is our final transmission. Veltar sent the message toward the coordinates they had for Earth. The signal flew out into the dark space between stars, moving at the speed of light toward a planet that might not even exist. Message sent. Captain, said Veltar. Good, said Zephyra. She looked around at her crew. They were scared, but they were still working. They were still trying to save their ship and each other. Now we wait. The Vorthak ships moved closer. Through the broken walls of Harmony's Light, Zephyra could see alien soldiers getting ready to board. They wore black armor covered in spikes. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy. The crew of Harmony's Light gathered together in the main cabin. They held hands and sang a traditional song of their people. It was a song about hope, about believing that good things could happen even in the darkest times. As they sang, Zephyra thought about the message flying through space toward Earth. She thought about the mysterious humans who claimed to live on an impossible world. She wondered if they really existed, and if they did, what kind of people they were. The Vorthak broke through the hull. Their soldiers poured into the ship like a black tide. But Zephyra kept singing with her crew, and she kept hoping that somewhere in the darkness of space, someone had heard their call for help. The message traveled on, carrying with it the desperate hope of 43 beings who believed that somewhere in the galaxy, someone would care enough to answer. The SOS wasn't ignored. Deathworlders sent a fleet to the aliens. Part 2 Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the UES Indomitable, watching numbers and pictures move across the big screens. The room was filled with the quiet sounds of people working, keyboards clicking, voices talking softly into headsets, machines humming as they processed information from across the galaxy. 3 days had passed since the alien message reached Earth. Sarah remembered the moment when Lieutenant Park burst into the meeting room where all the important leaders were discussing trade routes and colony supplies. Admirals, we have received a distress signal from space, Park had said, his voice shaking with excitement and fear. It is not from any of our ships. It is from aliens. The room had gone completely quiet. For over 100 years, humans had been traveling between the stars, building colonies and space stations. They had always hoped to find other intelligent life, but this was the first real proof that they were not alone. The message was played for everyone to hear. Captain Zephyra's voice, speaking in a language the computers had never heard before, but somehow the universal translator worked. Her words were clear and desperate. She was asking for help. Sarah had felt something tight in her chest when she heard the message. It reminded her of the old stories her grandmother told about ships in trouble on Earth's oceans, sending out SOS signals and hoping someone would come to save them. We have to help them, Sarah had said to the other leaders. But we do not know anything about these aliens, replied Admiral Rodriguez. What if this is a trap? What if they are dangerous? What if they are not? Sarah had answered. What if they are just people in trouble and we are the only ones who can help? General Morrison, the head of Earth's military, had looked at the star charts. The signal came from very far away. Even with our fastest ships, it would take weeks to get there. Then we better leave right away, Sarah had said. The debate had gone on for hours. Some leaders worried about showing their military strength to unknown aliens. Others worried about leaving Earth undefended. But in the end, they made a decision that Sarah was proud of. Earth would send help. Now 3 weeks later, Sarah looked at the 12 ships that made up humanity's first official contact fleet. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built to survive the harsh conditions of space and the even harsher conditions of combat. The ships were not pretty like those crystal vessels that other aliens apparently built. Human ships looked like what they were, tools of war, designed by a species that had spent thousands of years fighting each other and fighting their own planet. Earth had tried to kill humans in every way possible. Earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, radiation, diseases, predators. The planet had thrown everything at them. But humans had survived and learned from each challenge. Their ships reflected this harsh education, The Indomitable was the largest ship in the fleet, nearly a kilometer long and covered in armor that could stop asteroid impacts. The weapon systems were designed to work in any environment: vacuum, atmosphere underwater, even inside the gravity well of a star. Commander Torres, Sarah's second-in-command, walked over with the latest reports. "Admiral, all ships are ready for combat. The target system is just ahead." Sarah nodded and looked at the tactical display. "What do we know about these Vorthak?" "Not much," Torres replied. "From the aliens' message, they sound like raiders or pirates. They attack peaceful ships and take prisoners." Dr. Kim, the fleet's xenobiologist, spoke up from her station. "The message mentioned that the Vorthak enslave other species. That suggests they have been doing this for a long time. They probably think no one can stop them." Sarah studied the data on her screen. The computers had analyzed the alien message and tried to learn about the species that sent it. The Kalari seemed to be peaceful explorers and scientists, exactly the kind of people that bullies like to pick on. "Admiral," called the communications officer, "we are receiving transmissions from the target system. It looks like the attack is still happening." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest. The aliens had been calling for help for 3 weeks and their attackers were still hurting them. "What is the status of our weapons?" "All weapons ready, Admiral," reported the weapons officer. Railguns loaded with tungsten rounds. Nuclear missiles armed and ready. Energy weapons charged. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen." Sarah spoke into her communicator. "We are about to make first contact with alien species. I want everyone to remember that we are representing all of humanity today. Some of these aliens called for help and we are going to help them. Others are attacking peaceful beings and we are going to stop them." The fleet moved forward toward the edge of the target system. Sarah could see the other human ships on her screens: destroyers, cruisers, and support vessels. All of them crewed by the best and bravest people Earth had to offer. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, "I am detecting multiple ships in the inner system. 3 large vessels in attack formation around a smaller damaged ship." "Show me," Sarah ordered. The main screen changed to show a picture of the battle. Sarah could see the alien research vessel, its crystal hull cracked and leaking atmosphere. Around it, 3 dark ships circled like sharks. The attacking ships were covered in spikes and weapons, clearly designed to look scary. "The damaged ship matches the design we analyzed from the message," reported Dr. Kim. "That has to be the Kalari vessel." "And those ugly ships?" "Must be the Vorthak," said Commander Torres. "They do not look very impressive." Sarah studied the enemy ships. They were big, but they looked more like parade floats than real warships. All flash and no substance. "Analysis? The Vorthak ships appear to be designed for intimidation rather than real combat," reported the tactical officer. "Thin armor, exposed systems, weapons designed to overwhelm weak targets quickly. They have probably never fought anyone who could fight back," Torres observed. Sarah made her decision. All ships jumped to combat range. Battle stations. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the battle. Alarms rang through the ships as crews prepared for combat. On the Indomitable, weapon systems came online with a humming sound that Sarah had heard many times before. Sarah opened communications on all frequencies. Her voice was calm and professional, but there was steel underneath. "Attention, hostile vessels. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. You are attacking a peaceful ship that has requested our protection. You will cease your attack immediately and withdraw from the system, or we will make you withdraw." Sarah waited for a response, hoping the Vorthak would be smart enough to leave. But deep down she knew they would not. Bullies never backed down until someone made them. The response came quickly, a harsh, angry voice speaking in a language the computers had trouble translating. But the meaning was clear. The Vorthak were not impressed by the human ships. They thought humans were just another weak species trying to interfere. "Admiral," reported communications, "the Vorthak commander is laughing at us. He says humans look weak and that our ships are too small to be a threat." Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Then I guess we will have to show them how wrong they are. All ships weapons free. Let us introduce the galaxy to humanity." The SOS wasn't ignored. Deathworlders sent a fleet to the aliens. Part 3 War Prime Thax stood on the bridge of his flagship Blooddrinker, looking at the small human ships with amusement. In his long career of raiding peaceful vessels, he had seen many species try to interfere. They all made the same mistake. They thought their good intentions could match his superior firepower. The humans had only 12 ships. Thax had 36 vessels in his raiding fleet, each one larger than the biggest human ship. His weapons had terrorized this sector of space for decades. No one had ever successfully challenged the Vorthak military. "These humans must be very stupid," Thax said to his weapons officer. "Do they not see how many ships we have?" The weapons officer, a scarred veteran named Krex, studied the human formation. War Prime, their ships looked different from other species. Very thick hulls, many weapons. Thax laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. "All weak species try to look tough. It does not matter how thick their hulls are. Our plasma cannons will melt them like ice." On his screen, Thax could see the damaged Kalari research vessel. The crystal ship was almost completely broken now. Soon his warriors would board it and collect the survivors. Kalari made excellent slaves. They were smart enough to be useful but too gentle to fight back. "War Prime," called his communications officer. "The humans are demanding we withdraw." "Tell them we do not take orders from food," Thax replied. "Tell them if they leave now, we will only kill half of them." The human response was immediate. Bright flashes of light erupted from their ships as weapons fired. Thax expected to see the usual energy beams that most species used. Instead, he saw something completely different. Solid metal projectiles moving impossibly fast slammed into his ships. The tungsten slugs, fired from human railguns, punched through Vorthak armor like it was made of soft wood. Explosions bloomed across Thax's fleet as the projectiles tore through ship after ship. "What was that?" Thax roared. "What kind of weapons are those?" Krex was staring at his instruments in shock. "War Prime, they are firing solid metal at us. But the speed, these projectiles are moving at nearly the speed of light." 3 Vorthak ships were already drifting dead in space, their hulls torn open by the kinetic weapons. The human ships moved forward and Thax could see more flashes as they fired again. "Return fire," Thax ordered. "All ships, fire everything." The Vorthak fleet opened up with their plasma cannons. Bright green energy beams reached across space toward the human ships. These weapons had melted the hulls of countless peaceful vessels. They should have turned the human ships into glowing metal clouds. Instead, the plasma beams hit the human shields and simply disappeared. The humans had some kind of energy barrier that absorbed the Vorthak weapons like they were nothing more than flashlights. "Impossible," Thax screamed. "Our weapons are the most powerful in the galaxy." "War Prime," Krex said quietly. "I think these humans come from a very dangerous world." More human projectiles slammed into the Vorthak fleet. A cruiser exploded as a tungsten slug hit its reactor. A destroyer lost its entire front section when 3 rounds hit it at the same time. The human weapons were not just powerful. They were precise, targeting the most important parts of each ship. Thax watched in horror as his fleet, which had been invincible for so long, was torn apart by enemies he had thought were weak. The human ships moved like predators, using the asteroids and gas clouds in the system to hide and attack from unexpected angles. One human destroyer, Wolverine, used the gravity of a nearby planet to swing around behind a group of Vorthak ships before they could turn to face the new threat. The destroyer fired a spread of missiles that turned 4 ships into burning wreckage. The human flagship, Indomitable, moved straight through the center of the Vorthak formation. Its thick armor absorbed plasma fire that would have destroyed any other ship. Its weapons fired continuously, each shot carefully aimed to cause maximum damage. "War Prime," Krex shouted over the sound of explosions. "We have lost 20 ships. We need to retreat." But Thax was too proud and too angry to run. He had built his reputation on being unbeatable. If word got out that humans had defeated him, his enemies would rise up everywhere. "All remaining ships focus fire on their flagship," he ordered. "If we can destroy their leader, the others will run." Every surviving Vorthak ship turned its weapons on the Indomitable. Dozens of plasma beams hit the human ship at the same time, turning space around it into a green inferno. For a moment, Thax thought he had won. Then the light faded, and the Indomitable was still there. Its shields glowed from the energy they had absorbed, but the ship itself was undamaged. Worse, it was turning toward Thax's flagship. "War Prime," Krex said, his voice full of fear. "Their shields are designed to handle much more punishment than our weapons can deliver." The Indomitable fired its main railgun. The tungsten projectile, weighing several tons and moving at incredible speed, hit the blood drinker dead center. The impact sent shockwaves through the entire ship. Hull plates buckled and atmosphere began leaking out. All power to engines. Thax screamed.
We retreat.
But it was too late. Human ships had surrounded the surviving Vorthak vessels. Every time a Vorthak ship tried to escape, human destroyers cut them off. The humans moved like they had fought in space their entire lives, using every trick and advantage the environment offered. The Wolverine used an asteroid field to hide from sensors, then emerged to destroy 2 fleeing ships. The cruiser Defiant used the radiation from a nearby star to mask its approach, getting close enough to board a Vorthak vessel before the enemy knew it was there. One by one, the proud ships of the Vorthak fleet were destroyed or captured. Thax watched his life's work disappear in a storm of human weapons and tactics he had never imagined. War Prime, Krex reported. We are the last ship left. Thax looked at his screens. The Blood Drinker was surrounded by human ships, all of them pointing weapons at his bridge. His own weapons were destroyed, his engines were failing, and his crew was injured or dead. Surrender, came a voice over the communication system. It was the human admiral, speaking in perfect Vorthak language. You are beaten. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated according to galactic law. Thax laughed bitterly. There is no galactic law. There is only strength and weakness. Then you have just learned which one you are, the human admiral replied. The Blood Drinker shuddered as human marines boarded the ship. Thax could hear fighting in the corridors as his warriors tried to resist, but it was hopeless. The humans moved through his ship like they owned it, their armor shrugging off Vorthak weapons. When the human soldiers reached the bridge, Thax was surprised by what he saw. They were smaller than Vorthak warriors, but they moved with deadly efficiency. Their armor was covered in scratches and scars, evidence of many battles fought and won. The leader of the human marines removed his helmet, revealing a scarred face and calm eyes. War Prime Thax, you are under arrest for attacking peaceful vessels and enslaving sentient beings. Thax stared at the human in confusion. You are going to arrest me? Not kill me? That is right, the Marine replied. We do not kill prisoners. We are not like you. As the humans led him away, Thax realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had thought humans were just another weak species. Instead, he had found warriors who were stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. But what frightened him most was that they chose to be merciful. The SOS wasn't ignored. Deathworlders sent a fleet to the aliens. Part 4 Captain Zephyra floated in the medical bay of her broken ship, watching the impossible happen. Human doctors and engineers worked alongside her crew, their hands moving with careful precision as they repaired both ship and people. 3 weeks ago, she had sent a desperate message into the darkness, hoping someone might hear. She never expected anyone to actually come. The humans had arrived like something from the old stories her people told their children, heroes appearing when all hope was lost. But these heroes were strange and frightening in ways she had not expected. Dr. Kim, the human xenobiologist, finished scanning Zephyra with a medical device that looked more like a weapon than a healing tool. Everything humans made seemed designed for war, even their hospital equipment. You are healthy, Dr. Kim said, speaking through a translation device. The stress was hard on your body, but you will recover fully. Zephyra studied the human woman. Dr. Kim was small compared to Zephyra's people, but there was something in her eyes that spoke of great strength. Her hands were steady and gentle as she worked, but Zephyra could see scars on her arms from old injuries. Thank you, Zephyra said, but I must ask, why did you come? You do not know us. We have nothing to offer you. Dr. Kim paused in her work. You asked for help. That was enough. But surely your people wanted something in return. Military bases? Trade agreements? Territory? Dr. Kim looked confused. We came because someone was in trouble. That is what you do when someone calls for help. Through the broken walls of her ship, Zephyra could see human engineers working to repair the crystal hull. They moved in the vacuum of space wearing thick armor that made them look like mechanical creatures. Their tools were loud and crude compared to Kalari technology, but they worked. Chief Engineer Okafor floated over to where Zephyra and Dr. Kim were talking. Half of his body was mechanical, a cybernetic arm, artificial eyes, and metal plates covering part of his chest. He had been injured so badly that his people had rebuilt him with machines. Captain, Okafor said, his voice kind despite his scary appearance, we have fixed your life support and sealed the major hull breaches. Your ship will not be beautiful anymore, but it will get you home safely. Zephyra looked at the repairs. Where her ship had been elegant crystal, it was now covered in thick human metal patches. It looked like someone had tried to fix art with construction tools, but it was functional, and that was what mattered. How can we ever repay you? She asked. Okafor smiled, the metal parts of his face moving along with the flesh parts. You already did? You showed us we are not alone in the universe. A communication came through the ship's speakers. It was Admiral Chen speaking from the human flagship. Captain Zephyra, would you please join me aboard the Indomitable? There are things we need to discuss. An hour later, Zephyra found herself in the command center of the human ship. She had expected something like the bridges she knew from other species. Clean, quiet, comfortable. Instead, she found a place that looked like it was built for battle. Every surface was covered in armor. The crew wore uniforms that could turn into spacesuits in seconds. Weapons were mounted on the walls ready to be grabbed quickly. Warning lights and alarms were everywhere. This was not a ship designed for comfort. It was designed for survival. Admiral Chen was a middle-aged woman with short gray hair and calm eyes. Like all the humans Zephyra had met, she had scars from old injuries. Her hands moved with the confidence of someone who had fought many battles and won them. Captain, Admiral Chen said, I want to show you something. The main screen lit up with data the humans had taken from the captured Vorthak ships. Zephyra gasped as she saw the scope of their operations. The Vorthak had attacked hundreds of peaceful vessels over the years. They had enslaved thousands of beings from dozens of different species. This is worse than we thought, Zephyra whispered. Much worse, Chen agreed. But now we know where their bases are, what ships they have, and how they operate. We can stop them. We? Zephyra asked. Chen nodded. Your people know this sector of space better than we do. You know which species need protection and where the Vorthak are likely to strike next. We have the ships and weapons to fight them. Together we can clean out this entire region. Zephyra felt hope rising in her chest for the first time in weeks. You would do this? Fight the Vorthak across multiple systems just to protect species you have never met? Captain, Chen said quietly. My species spent most of its history fighting each other. We nearly destroyed our own planet several times. We know what it is like to be afraid, to feel helpless while stronger enemies hurt the weak. Chen pulled up an image of Earth on the screen. Zephyra had seen the data about the human homeworld, but seeing it was different. The planet looked angry, covered in storms, radiation, and natural disasters that would kill most species. Our world tried to kill us every day for millions of years, Chen continued. Earthquakes, volcanoes, poisonous air, deadly animals, diseases, radiation. Everything you can imagine. We survived by learning to work together, by protecting each other. But you also learned to fight, Zephyra observed. Yes, Chen admitted. We became very good at violence. But we also learned that the strongest species is not the one that can hurt others. It is the one that protects others. Dr. Kim spoke up from her station. When we first went to space, we were afraid we would find enemies. Instead, we found people who needed help. It makes us happy to know that the galaxy has room for both kinds of beings. Admiral Chen called up more data on the screen. The Vorthak have been successful because no one has ever fought back effectively. Most galactic species are peaceful. They build beautiful ships and create wonderful art, but they do not know how to fight. And humans do know how to fight, Zephyra said. We are experts at it, Chen replied, but we do not fight for conquest or glory. We fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Zephyra thought about this. In all her years of space travel, she had never met a species like humans. Most aliens were either completely peaceful or completely aggressive. Humans seemed to be both at the same time. What do you need from us? She asked. Information, Chen said. Maps of Vorthak territory. Lists of the species they have attacked. Locations of their bases and supply lines. Help us understand how they operate, and we will shut them down permanently. Over the next several hours, Zephyra shared everything she knew about Vorthak operations. Her science team provided detailed maps of the sector. Dr. Kesra gave the humans information about different alien species and their capabilities. The humans listened to everything with careful attention. They asked smart questions and made detailed plans. Zephyra was impressed by how quickly they learned and adapted their strategies. As the meeting ended, Zephyra realized something important. For the first time since the Vorthak had appeared in this sector, Someone was going to fight back. Someone was going to protect the peaceful species who could not protect themselves. "Admiral," she said as she prepared to return to her ship, "there is something else you should know. The galactic community has been watching for signs of intelligent life from your part of space for many years. When you make contact with them, they will be very interested in your species." Chen nodded. "We look forward to meeting them. But first, we have work to do." As Zephyra returned to Harmony's light, she looked at her patched and repaired ship. It was not beautiful anymore, but it was strong. Like the humans who had saved them, it had been broken and rebuilt, made tougher by surviving hardship. She thought about the message she would send to the Kalari Federation, telling them about humanity. How could she explain a species that was both terrifying and wonderful? How could she describe people who had learned to be gentle by first learning to be strong? The human fleet began moving deeper into Vorthak territory, and Zephyra's ship moved with them. For the first time in years, the galaxy had hope. The SOS wasn't ignored. Deathworlders sent a fleet to the aliens. Part 5, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council had not seen an emergency session in over a century. Representatives from 47 different species filled the enormous chamber, their voices creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, hums, and musical tones as they debated the most important question their civilization had ever faced. Ambassador Velnari of the Zephyrian Collective raised her crystalline hand for attention. The hall fell silent as her voice rang out in perfect harmony. "Honored delegates, we are here to discuss the humans and their actions in the Vorthak sectors. In 6 months, they have destroyed or captured over 300 Vorthak vessels. They have liberated 47 enslaved worlds and rescued thousands of prisoners." Murmurs filled the hall. Some voices sounded pleased, others worried. The Vorthak had been a problem for decades, but they had also been a problem that everyone had learned to live with. Now suddenly everything had changed. Captain Zephyra stood at the speaker's platform looking out at the assembled aliens. 6 months ago she had been a simple research captain. Now she was the official representative for human-alien relations, the first being to make formal contact with the mysterious Deathworlders. "Honored Council," she began, "I was the first to receive human assistance. My ship was destroyed, my crew was captured, and we expected to die. The humans came not for profit or territory, but simply because we asked for help." The Altarian representative, a being made of living gas contained in a mechanical suit, spoke in electronic tones. "Captain Zephyra, these humans concern us. Their military capabilities far exceed anything in our current civilization. How do we know they will not turn those weapons on us?" Before Zephyra could answer, the chamber's main screen activated. Admiral Chen appeared via hologram, speaking from the bridge of the Indomitable. The human ship was currently patrolling the former Vorthak trade routes, ensuring that freed slaves could return home safely. "Honored Council," Admiral Chen said, "I understand your concerns. Humans are indeed a military species. Our homeworld taught us that strength was necessary for survival. But strength without wisdom is just destruction." She gestured to something off-screen, and the display showed a rescued slave ship. Beings from a dozen different species were working together to repair their vessel and care for the injured. Human medical teams moved among them, offering aid to anyone who needed it. "We did not come to your galaxy to conquer," Chen continued. "We came because someone called for help. That is what humans do. We answer calls for help." The Tarothian delegate, a massive creature with multiple heads, spoke in deep, rumbling tones. "But Admiral, your species clearly has the power to take whatever you want. Why should we trust that you will always choose to be peaceful?" Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment, thinking about the question. "Because we know what happens when the strong prey on the weak. We have seen what the Vorthak did to innocent people. We have been on both sides of that equation." The hologram changed to show images of Earth's history: wars, suffering, destruction caused by humans fighting each other. Then it showed images of cooperation, humans working together to heal their planet, to explore space, to build a better future. "We learned that our strength means nothing if we use it only for ourselves," Chen said. "The galaxy is vast and dangerous. There are threats out there that none of us can face alone, but together we can protect what matters most: the right of peaceful beings to live free from fear." Dr. Kessera, who had been on the Harmony's light during the original attack, spoke from the audience. "Honored Council, I have worked with human scientists for 6 months. They are curious, intelligent, and eager to learn. But more importantly, they are kind. They could have taken our technology, our resources, our territory. Instead, they share their own knowledge freely. The council's debate continued for hours. Some species argued that humans were too dangerous to be trusted. Others pointed out that humans had already proven their good intentions by their actions against the Vorthak. The Kalari representative stood to speak. The humans could have ignored our distress call. They could have conquered us when they arrived. Instead, they saved us and asked for nothing in return. What more proof do we need of their character? But not everyone was convinced. The Nexorian ambassador, whose species had suffered under Vorthak raids for generations, had a different concern. What happens when the humans decide we are not worth protecting? What happens when they find a stronger enemy and abandon us? Admiral Chen's image leaned forward on the screen. Ambassador, my species has a saying, "No one left behind." It means we do not abandon our friends when things get difficult. It means we keep our promises even when it costs us. But how can we be sure? The Nexorian pressed. Chen smiled, and for a moment she looked very tired. Because we have already paid the price. Humanity has lost 23 ships and over 400 people fighting the Vorthak. We could have stopped after rescuing Captain Zafara's crew. Instead, we kept fighting because we gave our word that we would protect the innocent. The hall fell silent as the representatives absorbed this information. Many species had promises broken by others who claimed to be their protectors. But humans had already proven they were willing to sacrifice for strangers. The vote was close. 24 in favor, 21 against, with 2 abstentions. But it was enough. Humanity was granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, with a special designation that had never been used before. The species known as humans, announced the council chairman, are hereby recognized as protectors of galactic peace. They are authorized to patrol interstellar space, respond to distress calls, and take action against threats to civilian populations. Admiral Chen bowed her head respectfully. We accept this responsibility with honor. We promise to use our strength wisely, and to always answer when someone calls for help. As the council session ended, Zafara found herself thinking about the message she had sent into space 6 months ago. She had been desperate, afraid, certain that no one would hear her cry for help. Instead, she had found humanity, a species that had turned their greatest weaknesses into their greatest strengths. Humans were violent, but they used that violence to protect others. They were suspicious and careful, but they offered trust to those who earned it. They were products of a death world, but they had learned to create life and hope wherever they went. Later that day, Zafara stood on the observation deck of the council station, looking out at the stars. In the distance, she could see human ships patrolling the trade routes, their ugly but functional hulls a reassuring sight to travelers throughout the galaxy. Her communication device chimed with a new message. It was from a remote system on the edge of known space, another distress call from a species under attack by raiders. Without hesitation, Zafara forwarded the message to Admiral Chen. The response came within minutes. Message received. Fleet moving to assist. ETA, 18 hours. Zafara smiled as she watched the human ships change course toward the new emergency. Somewhere in the galaxy, people were in trouble and calling for help. And somewhere else, humans were already on their way to answer that call. The galaxy was still dangerous. There were still threats out there. Pirates, slavers, hostile aliens, and natural disasters. But for the first time in galactic history, there was someone watching, someone listening, someone ready to come when called. Earth's children had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors or traders or explorers, but as the guardians who answered when someone called for help. It was exactly what the galaxy needed, and exactly what humanity was meant to be. As Zafara watched the human fleet disappear into faster-than-light travel, she whispered a traditional Kalari blessing. May you find fair winds and following seas. In the depths of space, another desperate message traveled between the stars, carrying with it the hope that someone would hear, someone would care, and someone would come. And in a control room on Earth, a communications officer picked up the signal and smiled. Help was already on the way.